Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 146. Today is Sunday, June the 30th, and we're coming off an awesome Fight Night card from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Before we get into that, just a couple of housekeeping things. My co-host, Jeff the Animal Wilson, will not be joining me this week, but I do have a guest co-host join the podcast, so I'll introduce him in just a minute. And I just want to address last week, a lot of you guys called me out for sounding really tired and sick and hungover, etc., because I was out till 4 a.m. at the bare knuckle boxing fights. And then my 1-year-old woke me up at 7 a.m. sick and then got me sick. And I've been sick all week. So I'll try and bounce back this week with a little bit more energy. So to help me out with the energy aspect, I had to bring in somebody who I know is going to bring some energy. I'm replacing the animal this week with the Manimal, Bellator, Bellator MMA fighter, Matt Serra, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu second degree black belt, and also one of the hosts of the MMA and Beyond Podcast, along with Steve Maraboli and the great Ray Longo. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce John the Manimal Beneduce. Manimal, how you feeling this morning, my friend?
Bill, that's some fucking introduction. Let me tell you, now I'm pretty hyped. I was easing into the day. Now my day is well underway.
Awesome.
Good to go. I might not be as hyped as I am during fight camp because I am going to smoke a bowl while we record this. I'm making up for lost time. I think most fighters will understand what I'm talking about. New York is strict with their drug testing.
Yeah.
So that's 8 weeks without any weed, and everyone's like, oh, but CBD. I'm like, but CBD doesn't get you high.
That's true.
But I tell you what, it definitely pays not to, for me, smoke in camp anyway, because then I'm like so ready to kill come fight time.
Well, that's a good thing.
So that's a good thing, yeah.
But then you're on edge, and I know the wife's not happy about that while that's going on, right?
Ray and Maraboli joke too. They're like, we can't even deal with you for an hour. They're like, how's your wife deal with you all the fucking time?
So,
but we make it. It works out okay.
Yeah. Well,
and especially, I am the oldest winning featherweight in Bellator. So
is that true?
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'll have my fact checker get on that.
Have your fact checker get on. Is there anyone over 39 that's won a fight at featherweight? Because listen, you can fight older.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about heavyweights in Bellator, I think some of them are pushing 100.
In fighter years, fighters age like dogs. Every year is like 7.
That's a true story. So yeah, you're just coming off your fight. It was just June 14th.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a lot longer ago. And I don't want to jump into the fight right away. We're going to give you some shine over the big Bellator win. But I want to talk about your career a little bit, because obviously if people don't know of you from your podcast or know of you as a fighter, they're going to Google you after listening to this. Now, looking at your record, you got a 10-year gap where you weren't fighting. So 2 questions. What caused you to take the layoff? And then what motivated you to get back in there after such a long time away?
Insanity is the big driver for both. No, so what happened was, listen, I had, and then I have a no contest that's not on there. So I really have an extra fight. But,
okay.
But whatever. It was nothing anyway. I had some wins back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then I hurt my shoulder in 2008. And
okay.
I had to get it reconstructed. I had 4 anchors put in it. I hurt it in training. I had to get the bicep reattached. I totally fucked it up, right? I mean, I messed everything up inside the shoulder. The rotator cuff, a labrum tear, the bicep came out. I hurt it wrestling, messed it all up. For like 6 months, I didn't get it looked at, but it just kept popping out. And then one day it wouldn't pop back in. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go to sleep. I go to the doctor in the morning. And he's like, it was early. It was like 8 or 9 a.m. And he's like, how'd you train? Why are you training so hard so early in the morning? I was like, no, I did this last night. He's like, and then what'd you do? I was like, then I went to sleep. I was like, and figured out. I was like, Doc, when my head hits the pillow, I go to sleep always. I was like, so I sleep with any kind of pain.
Sure.
In camp, I dislocated my middle finger sparring on a Thursday night. And I didn't realize it until I like woke up Friday morning. I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sleep hard. But so I hurt my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I get surgery on it. A month after my surgery, I get into a car accident.
Oh, geez.
And then the anchors came out, and I had to get it redone a second time. So then that kept me on the shelf. I couldn't train at all for like a year between the two surgeries, painkillers, and ice cream, lots of Haagen-Dazs, and depression on my couch. So for a year, I didn't train at all. Then for like 6 months, I just did like rehab. Then 6 months, I trained with one arm, right? Like, tuck my hand into my belt.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about 2.5 years went by before I was able to like train hard. And during that time, I had other businesses, so I'm very entrepreneurial minded anyway.
Okay.
So I had a clothing company I was working on. So I kind of stopped fighting as much, and I was coaching more too. I was doing personal training, and I started getting involved in CrossFit. Then in like 2011, I wind up getting involved to open up a CrossFit gym. And when you own a gym, you really can't fight,
Right.
So for 5 years, I had a gym. So that gives us 9 years now. All right. 4 years to get 100% from my shoulder. Then at that time, I was like, I haven't really trained as much, jiu-jitsu. Like maybe I was a couple times a week at most.
Yeah.
I wasn't sparring and shit like that. So I had a CrossFit gym for almost 5 years, and then that didn't work out. And I don't know. I knew I was a little older, but I was like, fuck, I just wanted to start training. So I just started training again. I was like, all right, let me get my mind off of, all the shit that was going on in my life.
Sure.
With my gym, and I went through a bankruptcy that was really rough and lost a fuck ton of money. And I just started training, and I was like, all right, this is fun. I always loved martial arts, and I guess I hadn't trained super hard in a while, and I just kind of fell in love with it, I guess. And then after I was training for a little bit, I did a grappling tournament, did North American Championships, and I won.
Okay.
And I was like, all right.
And you're a black belt at this point?
I'm a black belt. Yeah. I've been a black belt for years. I was a black belt. I got my black belt in 2010.
Before the shoulder injury? Or no, after the shoulder injury.
When I started coming back, because you know what happened? Training with the one arm got me really fucking good in the guard.
Okay.
Like training with one arm for 6 months, actually, like with the gi, right?
Yeah.
Actually gave me things in my game that now I'm realizing are really fruitful. Even I did a lot more fighting out of my right lead.
Okay.
When I hurt my shoulder, so I could just jab a lot and kick. So now I fight both leads.
Nice.
So it like developed me a certain way that would never have happened. Plus, that 10 years off, I would never have gotten to fight at the Garden. I would have been way retired already.
Yeah, that kind of segues into my next question. All that time off, granted you had the injury and stuff that took its toll on your body, but do you feel like not fighting all those years is the reason you're able to still train hard and actually compete at your age now? Or
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be 40, and I think the years I was talking to one of my friends from CrossFit. He just started doing martial arts, and he was like, I don't know how you ever like stop doing martial arts, like so much fun. And I was like, well, I see what you're saying because you're getting into martial arts. I was like, but if I didn't do that, I might not be so durable now, that time away. Plus now we train a lot smarter.
Yeah.
We weren't that smart a decade ago, the way we trained. It was a lot of hard sparring. I mean, how did it hurt my shoulder? We did 9 5-minute rounds of feet to floor wrestling, 3 weeks out from a fight with all D1 wrestler. It was like, and then I did another round on top of it. So I did my 9 5s, and then one of my training partners was like, let's do one more. And I was like, nah, I'm good, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good. And he was like, you got a fight coming up. And I was supposed to fight Joe Lazone, actually.
Oh, okay.
I hurt my shoulder. Yeah. So it was like a big fight. And like 2 minutes into that, I ripped my shoulder out. Like I had done enough. I could never see that happening now. Like now I remember doing 6 5-minute rounds of sparring on a Thursday night. And I was going to do a 7th round. And Steamroller was like, you did 6 5s already. You're good, bro. And I was like, You're right. I am good, right? Like, but back
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
day, people wouldn't even say to me, yeah, do another.
yeah,
So the training now is a lot better, and I feel great. I mean, you see my fight; it looked good.
yeah. You did.
You know,
And it's interesting seeing the guys that are just getting into jujitsu and stuff now, and they're all gung ho about it, and they're training, you know, 7 days a week, and they're all about it, and they don't understand like why you might need to take a day off here and there because they weren't involved in it, you know, a couple of years back when it was a lot more intense. Like now, guys are like more flow rolling and stuff like that. They weren't in there when people were like trying to rip each other's arms off and like your body kind of needs a break after training like that for a while. And I think a lot of the newer guys don't really get that, especially the ones that are just doing jujitsu and stuff, and they're not wrestling, they're not doing this stuff that's like
wrestling's
really
hard, man.
really
Wrestling's
takes its
harder
toll.
about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything worse.
I mean, but that cage wrestling paid off. I do a lot of it with Aljo.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of wrestling in the cage. I mean, it definitely paid dividends. And I just feel, I mean, yeah, I feel like maybe I'm a late bloomer too, you know?
It could be.
So, but again, and I fell in love with the sport again. My first fight back was in Bellator.
Mm-hmm.
So my manager wound up, you know, selling my jiu-jitsu resume.
Yeah.
And yeah, my first one back was in Bellator, and I wound up fighting at 155.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a tall day if I hung upside down all night.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, man.
So I was undersized to 55, and I dropped to 45 for this fight, and I felt a lot more comfortable. I mean, not comfortable cutting the weight, but size-wise, even though, you know, fighting that first fight back after 10 years not fighting,
Sure.
imagine you hadn't fucked in 10 years, and then they're like, you're going to Bill, listen, we got this porn star, your favorite porn star. You're going to bang her. All right. And the production crew is going to be there watching you in a studio. All right. Do your best. And I did okay. So when I look at it like that, I'm like, oh, wow, I did pretty good, Bill. I went out there. I took the dude down who was a D1 wrestler. I had a good exchange with him. I wound up getting cut. I feel like I lost my composure when I was cut.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, since then, I've been training 20 solid months in the gym with fighters every fucking day.
Yeah.
And it seasoned me back up. And then I was like so relaxed, you know, and I was comfortable being in the cage. You know, I was able to let my personality come out at the weigh-ins and the walkout, put my leopard print suit on.
Yeah, there you go.
Thor's hammer. I like to put on a show. I want to be an entertainer.
Well, you are. I can definitely anoint you that title. You're definitely entertaining. So let me talk to you. I want to rewind a little bit and talk to you about your jiu-jitsu history because you started out at the old school Henzo Gracie's, correct? And then I see you nodding while you're lighting your bowl, so that's good enough. And then you wound up getting your black belt from Matt Serra. And
let's go on a history journey.
Yeah, take me down memory lane here. How did this progression happen, and then how did you end up out on Long Island, being that you're born in Brooklyn?
Because there's not great training in Brooklyn. I wish there was, but especially when I started, it just so the first thing I started. So first, wait, let's back it up. You know, I didn't start doing anything athletic until I was like a sophomore in college.
Okay.
Until that point, I was about 265 pounds, fat as fuck. You know, I didn't really train. Listen, I failed gym class every year. Every year I failed gym class in high school. I took it in summer school where all you had to do was show up.
Yeah, that's a lot of pounds to fit into 5'5".
Yo, I was fat. My body fat. I remember getting when I started, my body fat tested, and the caliper stopped at 40%.
Ooh.
So that's where it stopped. So that's what I had. You know, so it was over that.
So 40 plus.
40+% body fat. Yeah. And when I fight, when I weigh in, I'm so low that the caliper won't pick it up. So under 5%. Nice. Right. So that means all fat loss. Mm-hmm. Right? So when I started training, I started working out a little bit. Maybe I was like 230. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you know the fighter Philip Nova. He was on The Ultimate Fighter season 8. So he is like 2 or 3 years younger than me. And my family used to have a hardware store in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. Now, this kid, Philippe, was like 16, and I guess I was like 19, right? So he was like working at my store like I was a stock boy. So one day we start talking about fighting because I like the UFC. And he was like, oh, I do all that. You know, he was like, he's like, I'm really good. Like he was doing Kung Fu and Jeet Kune Do and shit in Brooklyn with Ralph Mitchell. And I don't know if you, Nardu Deber, he has a school now, Budokan. So we had a few guys like right on the fringe of doing stuff. This is in like 1999, maybe early 2000. So Philippe says he kicked my ass, and I was like 230. I was like, I'll sit on you, you little fuck. You know? And I was like, we could fight right now. I was scrappy. I grew up in Brooklyn. Listen, I was out of shape, but I wasn't afraid to get into a scrap.
Okay.
So he was like, no, why don't you come to my gym? I was like, oh, all right, no problem. I was like, what do I do when I get there? He's like, tell me you want to spar. I was like, all right, no problem. Now, this is the gym of, like, hardcore, old school, like, they were... Ralph Mitchell is, like, I guess he's a Jeet Kune Do guy, but really, he's, like, a really badass, like, kickboxer, and he studied all these different arts. Super good. He's a real old school dude. He came up in, like, the late 60s, early 70s.
Sure.
So Ralph Mitchell was an old school dude. I go up, I tell him I want to spar. And he's like, really? He's like, where do you train? I was like, I don't. He's like, where do you have fights? He's like, oh, a few in the street fights. He's like, all right. Fucking class was 2.5 hour class.
Oh, you were that guy, the street fight guy.
Oh my God. So the first part of class is like a half hour jump rope, then a half hour conditioning. Then they spar. I'm already tired. So I'm fucking getting my ass kicked. Nardu sends me with a side kick across the gym. It was like hardwood floors. Then after 45 minutes of sparring, they're like, now we grapple. Like they had like mats that they rolled out, right? Like the fold up mats. They take like 5 old beat up fold up mats and we start grappling. They make me grapple Philippe. So I take Philippe down with some sloppy double and he triangles me. All right. I tap, boom. Then he goes to take me down and I fucking guillotine him. I swear to God, my first day ever. And he taps. And the instructor's like, where'd you learn? And I was like, I watched a lot of fights. He was like, all right, whatever. And then I think I rolled a little bit more. And then I fucking threw up in the bathroom for like a half hour. And I was like, what do you want to do? I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I think I want to be a pro fighter. He was like, the fuck are you talking about? You suck. I was like, I'm not going to suck worse than today.
That's true.
Then, like 4 years later, I turned pro, and I was like, "See, I told you." I was like, "It took some time." I was like, "It's gonna suck worse."
So from here, how did you end up at Renzo's then?
Okay, so hold on. Me, Nardu, and Philippe were really into MMA, but there was not much. So our guys were mostly stand-up fighters.
Okay.
As far as a ground game, Matt Serra and Rodrigo Gracie had a school in the back of a karate gym in Valley Stream. And they used to teach out there like 3 days a week together.
What year is this?
2000.
Okay.
Maybe early 2000. They had just got their black belts together. Matt Serra and Rodrigo Gracie, they got their black belts the same day from Henzo. So they used to have a school there. And then Matt had another school, The Barn, which was like in Babylon. So he had like some Long Island guys he was teaching. And I wound up in Valley Stream. That was the closest thing to Brooklyn where you could get this jiu-jitsu, right? 2 black belts. And we started there. Then they were like, well, we're Renzo Gracie affiliated. So they were like, if you go to Renzo's in the city. And Rodrigo used to teach at Renzo's in the city. Matt was always at Renzo's in the city. And I went to school for forensic psychology in Manhattan at John Jay. Okay. So I made my schedule so that I could go to class in the morning, do the noon class at Renzo's, and Danaher always liked to teach those morning classes, and always great, right? He was always like a jiu-jitsu philosopher. Okay. So his classes were great. Rodrigo used to teach there. Nick Serra would teach there. Like all Renzo's first black belts taught a lot of classes at that school. So we would travel around Renzo's. And then we go to the Valley Stream School, but the training at Renzo's was great even back in the day. But it was so weird. Guys would come from Brazil, and they would be living there, sleeping on the mat with like all their shit. It was above the methadone clinic. Crackheads would be up there, just like shaving in the bathroom.
Oh, nice.
The first time I ever seen transvestites was there. It was great because it was like the first transgender clinic. So I was training at Renzo's then. Rodrigo Gracie and Matt Serra both got their own schools in like 2001-ish. So they had like that place for like a year, but it was rough. It was in the back of a karate gym with doing takedowns on puzzle mats.
Right.
It was brutal. And Rodrigo opened a school in Lynbrook. Matt went further out east. I wound up with Rodrigo Gracie till 2005. I went up to purple belt with him.
Okay.
And at the time we trained, they didn't have a ton of classes. So I was probably in the city training like 3-4 days a week also. And then going with them like 3 days a week. Rodrigo wound up moving to California. And then I went to train with Serra from like 2006, 2005, 2006 when he left until now. So then I've been at Serra's and with Longo out there.
Okay. So from the story you just told me, there were 3 or 4 points in this story where 99% of people would have given up on this sport. When you were overweight and you got your ass kicked, that you already lose most people off the bat.
Most people, that's the first day. That's a bad experience. Yeah.
Then the crackheads, the transvestites, the takedowns on the puzzle mats. So you got about 4 or 5 opportunities to throw in the towel here, and and you stuck it out. You're still living this life. I mean, now people give up when it's easy. They walk into a jiu-jitsu gym and everything's clean, padded mats. And they get choked out their first day and they want no part of it. So
even now it's still hard for me. I drive an hour and a half, 2 hours each way sometimes to go to law, so I get the best training.
Yeah.
And even Ray said it. What did he say? He was like, when I watch Manimal spar, I'm like, all right. He's like, but it's hard to tell because he's fucking sparring with killers. It's like,
yeah.
It's the truth. It's like, fuck, like who's like, could I do that? I probably couldn't do that in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. Like, it's worth it to go out. And then that's for the fight. I mean, I did that for a while. Now I'm more in maintenance mode. I'll probably go out there. I'm not going to train 30 hours a week when I don't have something to do.
Yeah,
Dial that back to like 10 hours a week of training. I do a little more strength and conditioning. So, and I'll see what's up next. I do more coaching now. It definitely takes me some time. I got some injuries from the fight.
Sure. You got to heal those up.
Even a fight that you don't look like you took damage, like sometimes I'll go to do something and I'm like, what the fuck did I do to my wrist?
Yeah.
I'm like, shit. Or I'll move a certain way and I'm like, what the hell happened to my hip? And those things are just like little things that just take some time. You don't realize, when you go 100%. I mean, listen, I'm lucky. I've had fights where I had to go to the hospital and get stitches, and I broke my elbow. My first fight back, the first kick this kid throws, the fight at Mohegan Sun breaks my elbow. Boom! I block it, and you hear that shit last. I don't notice. I picked up the timing off that kick on his kick. So it breaks my elbow, boom, and I'm like, all right, boom, I picked the timing up. When he threw it again, I take it, catch the kick, crack him, take him down. Now he's like, what the fuck? That dude's like a good wrestler, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on top of him, and I got what the problem was? I lost my composure. I got too hyped. I was like, Manimal, I'm telling myself, 10 years on the shelf, that ain't shit for you. And I started opening up big. And
do you always call yourself Manimal when you talk to yourself?
Depends what. Yeah.
All right, just checking. So I mean,
when I'm fighting, I do. Yeah, I'm like, come on, Manimal, stop the bullshit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, like, when the adrenaline's going, you're digging into places and you're using muscles that you don't use even when you're training regularly.
I'm not going that hard in training. If you go that hard in training, everyone's gonna think you're a dick.
That's true. I know.
I'm gonna fucking squeeze you and not let you go. Like I caught this grip, and when I turned with it, I saw the fucking veins on my hand through the screen. Like I was holding so tight. I'm not gonna. You're gonna do that in training? You're not gonna do that in training, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just hard to get that intensity.
Some guys do that in training, and they're dicks.
You call them assholes,
yeah. And then, and it's always the days where you're like, I'm just gonna go light today, that you end up rolling with that guy.
Bro, it's Valhalla out there where I'm from.
Yeah.
Unless you're injured, you have to go hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like expected I'm gonna have to go hard unless I have like an injury. You know, and I'm like, listen, I'm sitting out. I'm just gonna do technique.
That's the way it goes. Ego is a motherfucker.
You know?
All right. I want to talk about your Bellator fight. So Bellator 222, it was 2 weeks ago. For those of you who didn't catch it, Kenny Rivera was your opponent. Now, before I talk about the fight itself, Kenny, I believe they said on the broadcast, is a purple belt under John Danaher. So you guys kind of run in the same circles. Have you guys ever interacted before the fight? Or I know there's 100,000 people that come in and out of Henzo's in the city, but
it's funny. We actually have had a lot of similar training partners, similar coaching, but never ran into each other. Actually, the first time I met him was at the weigh-ins. And which was nice too, because he put on a little showmanship, which I like. I came out in a 3-piece leopard print suit for the weigh-in, and he had the Assassin's Creed outfit. So Henzo Gracie's backstage. He's like, Poha. He's like, you guys are friends? You fighting on the same card? We're like, no, we're fighting each other. He's like, oh, you guys coordinated? And we're like, no, this is by accident. He's like, I got to take a picture with you guys. So Henzo was like, man, he tells me, he's like, man, you got more style than Muhammad Ali. I was like, I'd like to think so myself, actually. Yeah.
That's a pretty good Henzo impersonation, too.
Man, I told him.
So it's pretty incredible, right? Because when you started out, however many years ago, and
almost 20 years ago.
So 20 years ago,
2000, call it.
You could probably name every person who trained in the tri-state area. Now you fought a guy in Bellator who has some of the same coaches, some of the same training partners, and you guys never even trained together before.
Never even met, never trained together. Which is crazy.
That really speaks to the growth of the sport. That's actually a really
There's no way that could have happened back in the day.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember, like it was so, like you would have gym spies. Because, like, you knew everyone that trained near you. So if you fought a guy that was from, like, a different gym, it was very closed off, right? Like, you would almost fear the gym spy or try you'd be like, oh, this new guy. Who's this guy over here?
Yeah.
Who's that guy? Who the fuck are you, right? Now, man, I go to Henzo's in the morning. There's 60, 70 guys in a 7:30 a.m. class.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know half of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And a lot of them are good. There's a lot of good. It's like,
even if you meet them, if you see them again in 2 weeks, you're not going to remember their name.
I mean, so although I do, I like a little bit of a mix. But I say most of my training for MMA, I'm going to Longos. I'm going to law. I mean, if you want to, MMA is its own sport. And I'm doing jiu-jitsu 2 to 3 days a week. But when we do the cage wrestling, I get to work my jiu-jitsu in there. My goal as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. So listen, and also the mindset of jiu-jitsu is what I try to take with me. When we first started doing jiu-jitsu, the only reason we did jiu-jitsu is to have it be applicable when we fought.
Right.
Whether that's in the street, in the cage. I also did stick and knife fighting when we did weapons arts. So everything we did, we were like, all right, how's it going to look in the fight? Whether it's a fight in the cage, in the street, in the gym, however, how's it going to be most effective? So I try to make my jiu-jitsu very effective for MMA. And there was a few things I did in my fight that I wouldn't have done in a traditional jiu-jitsu setting. Like instead, like trying to take the back, he escaped the back because he's very explosive and savvy. He's a good purple belt, right? I'm the Danaher. That's a good quality jiu-jitsu opponent.
Sure.
I'm not fighting white belts. I'm not Dylan Dennis.
Oh man. Shots fired.
Yeah, I wish that guy was fucking not so fat. If he was a little lighter, I think that would be a great matchup for me.
How tall is he?
It's not that he fought at 175, which first of all isn't a weight class.
Yeah, they made it up for him.
Like why? Okay, listen, you can fight at a catch weight if you want to be an entertainer. And even I don't, because I'm like, make the fucking weight class. I'm competing in the sport. What's the weight class? 145 is the weight class. That's the weight class you make. Pick a weight class. 155, 170. Until they change it, pick a weight class. Unless you don't care about any kind of aspirations in rankings.
Right.
But if you're going to act like you do, then you have to make a weight class.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's taking pictures with all these Bellator belts and stuff. I mean, it's a show. It's
like, listen, the guy he fought was a white belt in jiu-jitsu pretty much. Like, you know, I had a tougher opponent for jiu-jitsu because I was trying to finish.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's tough to finish a good guy. And my jiu-jitsu, I couldn't go to take the back as much. I was playing hugging the hip a little different. More working the half guard, trying to mount, get him against the cage, control the far wrist.
Right.
You know, like I had to work a different game that you probably wouldn't work if you just went to like the gym and did jiu-jitsu. If you played that game, guys would think you were like being weird. Like you know what I mean? Like they'll be like, you know, being patient, like maybe with the game, but who the hell's gonna, you know? And the cage makes it different. The cage adds its own element. So yeah, I like to train in the cage a lot when I'm.
Gotcha. So speaking of training against the cage, I want to talk about one sequence in your fight where you were on bottom half guard and you kind of slid into an ashi position and rolled into a heel hook. It looked like you were a little shallow on the knee, and he did the right thing. He defended properly and he rolled out of it. But the other thing I noticed was that your grip on his heel was a little high up on your forearm. Is that because of the gloves? Now, I've heard you talk about you would like to see bare knuckle MMA because the gloves hinder grappling. Do you feel like the gloves really get in the way of heel hooks?
It depends where you initially bite, but it is difficult to go on the glove because you can't slide it up because the glove has a little bit of thickness here.
Right.
So if I don't catch it by the thumb, then I'm going to wind up by the forearm.
Yeah.
Because I won't be able to slide. It's going to be stuck right there.
But and then it's easier to roll out.
However, then I'm able to use that, knowing that this is going to become a lower percentage submission finish. It's a higher percentage sweep. You have to respond to that heel hook.
Yeah.
Or else I am going to break your leg.
Yeah.
So you have to roll out of it. You have to defend it. Right? Once you defend it, I followed him back up, knowing the bite wasn't that great. You know, but I went for it 100% as if the bite was.
Yeah.
I'll still break something.
Sure.
You know, if I can. So make you defend it, and then I followed him back up. I was on bottom. Now I get into a position where I'm able to bring the fight back up to a more advantageous position for myself.
Yeah.
And then I did that little cage walk. I knew where I was. I walked my feet up the cage. You know, I was very present in that fight. You know, everything came together the right way. I definitely peaked.
Yeah.
You know, that night I peaked perfectly that night.
And that's something you have to drill because you can't just slip into a heel hook like that just practicing jiu-jitsu in open space. You have to actually work that up against the cage, right?
I work it a lot. Yeah, I work a lot of different submission positions against the cage and in mid-octagon too. And then you have to remember there's another factor. The cage, the flooring is canvas.
Right.
In the actual fight, which you never get to train on. So
that's a good point.
There's no time in your training where you're on canvas. Ever. The only time you ever feel the canvas is in combat. Now I can maneuver the opponent better on canvas. You slide better on canvas, actually.
Yeah.
You don't slide as well on the mat. So I actually a couple times were able to maneuver him just a centimeter away from a certain spot to not let him get the chance to get up. Which when I train on mats, you can't get that same movement off of them because there's friction between their shirt, the vinyl.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting little things. Maybe I'm overly perceptive. I don't know. But there's a lot of little things going on.
That's interesting. I never really thought about the canvas before, but
you're only on canvas in combat. That's it. Never ever other than that.
Yeah, that's a great point. But back to the heel hook. So you're saying if you bite it just right where the heel lands on your wrist, the glove
now you're good.
The glove makes it stick a little.
Yep. Now you're solid because there's a piece of duct tape there too.
Yeah.
right? The athletic commission. So now you're gold. You probably could finish that heel hook.
Yeah.
But an inch off, and now I'm stuck below it.
Right, and you can't slide it down because of the glove.
That's why I say I think bare knuckle MMA would favor the grappler.
Sure.
Now I have the full mobility of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have the ability to really crack me with a hard punch.
Yeah.
You would see the striking look different, maybe hammer fists, which I wonder why bare knuckle boxing doesn't develop a different style. Hammer fisting, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the straight blast from, like, why not do some different stuff in there?
Yeah, or if it's MMA, develop open palm strikes like the old Boss Rutan days.
Hand grace, yeah. Some open palm stuff. I was using some palm, Sometimes you just want to smack a guy.
Yeah, even with the gloves.
With the glove, yeah. I want to smack him, because it varies up the stimulus.
Right.
I hit you with a punch, I smack you.
Yeah.
Right? An elbow, a backhand. You want to vary the stimulus they're receiving. So not everything feels the same.
If you guys don't know what I was talking about with Manimal's fight, he put a clip of it on his Instagram, John the Manimal Beneduce. So you can go
At John the Manimal Beneduce. That's the best place to find me, guys. Please.
Yeah. I should have let you do that.
I'm putting out a lot of good content now. I got so many good clips from the fight. Lots of great technique for the jiu-jitsu guy. I think my fight, I don't want to sound cocky, but it's a good study.
Yeah, for sure.
Some good jiu-jitsu and MMA. I'm very grateful that I was able to use my techniques and my skills in there that I worked my whole life on. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm happy it came out that way.
Yeah. So while you're listening to this, go check out the Instagram so you can see the clips we're talking about. Now, I want to stick with the Kenny Rivera fight. You had an awesome corner. And you and I have a couple of mutual acquaintances, by the way, which I'll probably bring up a couple of times. But, of course, you had the great Ray Longo in your corner. But Longo is very boxing-minded. He's got a great mind for MMA. But if you want to get to the fight to the ground, you're going to need a little extra help. Now, I saw you had my boy, the Steamroller, in your corner. I spotted him right away. He's hard to miss. So how did it benefit you having a UFC fighter like Matt Steamroller Frivola in your corner during this fight?
Dude, I want to thank the whole corner was fantastic. So Ray, just having him in between, getting to go to the next rounds for Ray in the corner. He's like, man, Manimal. He's like, can you do that another 2 rounds? I wanted to finish him in the second round, but I can go 2 more if I had to.
Yeah.
I'm like, I guess I could. Ray's great. And then Steamroller and my other corner man, Manny, African Samurai.
Okay.
Between the two of them, they were great. They worked together well, even though that was the first time I think they worked the corner, and it was at the Garden too.
Yeah. And
they were great. Like Steamroller, he met me early that day, fight day. So listen, the corner men, my guys, they were with me, not just the night of the fight. They were there, Manny, the tall one on my corner. Mm-hmm. He drove me to the city the day of the weight cut, and that was brutal because I was dying. Because I wasn't gonna die because death said I wasn't there yet, but the land of the living said I wasn't quite there yet. So I was in a weird spot for like 10 hours of Thursday morning in between life and death there, and Manny walked me through. Mm-hmm. So that weight cut was a little rough. But Manny picks me up. So he picked me up from my house. He lives in the Bronx. Picked me up in Brooklyn to drive to Madison Square Garden in the city. Now I'm 3 pounds off that morning.
So that's 2 hours of driving right there.
Hour and a half. It was an hour and a half by the time we went. So I throw on the vinyls, right? So I throw on the vinyls, Albaline, and sweats, right? And he puts the heat on 100. Now, Manny's in sandals and a tank top and like he's going to the beach, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in the vinyls and I'm fucking sweating balls in air. It's like 110 degrees in the car. I'm sweating. I got a hat on, a hoodie over it, trying to lose these 3 pounds. And we get to the city. He parks the car in the lot. And I just laid on the floor in the parking lot. And the parking lot attendant's like, you can't just lay here. So I walk like right outside the lot, and I'm on like 33rd and 8th Avenue. in Manhattan, and I just laid on the fucking concrete. And Manny's like, "You got to get up." I was like, "Well, I can't get up right now." I was like, "No." I didn't say I can't get up right now. I was just like, "No."
But in that area of Manhattan, nobody's batting an eye at a guy wrapped in vinyls laying down on the sidewalk.
With a fucking beard looking, yeah.
You're one of 100 on that block. You just happen to be the only one that's doing it for a reason.
Yeah, the dude next to me looked rough too. So,
but he just lives there.
He just lives there. He was actually over the grate to get like warmth. But I was hot enough. So after like 15 minutes, now it starts pouring rain on me, which actually invigorated me to finish my weight cut. So now I'm like, okay, I get up, and I'm like, all right. I go to the hotel gym, and I'm like, I still have more weight to lose. Like, I knew I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I know I'm not there. I was like, so I went on the bike, and went on the bike for like a half hour, and I stripped everything down. I get on the fucking scale. You get a pound allowance. It's 146.2.
Right.
And then it's toggling between 0.0, 0.2. Now I'm on the friggin' scale. Across from you on the scale is like all the media. And so all the media is there taking pictures. I'm like, fuck. So I go to drop my underwear, and they're like, wait. They're like, let's get a towel. So I'm like, fuck it. So I drop my drawers. They put a towel across. And I'm looking at that number on the scale. It was like the most stressful moment of my entire life. Because to lose those 0.2 pounds, if it wasn't in the underwear, I would have had to put those fucking gross, sweaty, Albaline-covered vinyls back on and start working out more. And I was, I mean, I was like dude, bad shape. And Manny was like, you know, trying to help me, but it was tough. And then I dropped my drawers, 0.0. Boom. Then I started rehydrating. Then I, you know, started to feel all right once I started to re-up.
Yeah.
And I was at the fight. So I was 146 at the weigh-in. And then I was about 162 at the fight, 163.
Okay.
I felt solid.
And I've been following your Instagram since the fight, and I've seen that you've eased up on the diet a little bit. So what are we walking around at now, Manimal?
Oh, I'm not going to step on the scale. But if I had to guess, what I'm at, I got to be in the mid 170. I got to be 170 to 175.
Okay.
And I think that's what a big 45er should walk around that off season.
Yeah.
Because I'll lose 10 pounds the second I fucking stop eating donuts, I'll lose 10 pounds.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I'm also not out of control. Like, I'm eating good meals.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're good quality meals that have a lot of calories, and I'm active, you know, so I don't mind walking around to like 170. That's a good spot for me. Then once I start camp, I'll drop 10 pounds easy quick. And then after that, I like to spend the whole camp at like low 160s. I want to be in the fight when I am in my camp. Right. So if I do my whole camp at a 162, 163, that's what I'm going to be at the fight. So I'm used to my body the whole time, pretty much at that weight.
Yeah. Okay. We might have to I might have to break this up into 2 episodes because this is all great stuff. But just one more thing about your fight. So you had the 10-year layoff, the injuries, everything like that, and it all culminates with a win at Madison Square Garden for a native New Yorker, born in Brooklyn, lives in Brooklyn, trains on Long Island, Renzo Gracie, the whole thing. So 39 years old, Manimal, where do you go from here? Like, does it get better than that? Do you try to get it better than that? Do you go out on that note? Are you any of these thoughts going through your head, or you just want to ride the high and figure it out later?
So I do. Listen, of course, I want to enjoy that because I have to heal up anyway. So there's no reason to think about anything too crazy. Then I do a training camp in upstate New York, Manimal training camp, where I have we take guys from average to savage.
Okay.
You know, here's my story, right? I started at the lowest point you can as far as fitness. Now I'm a professional athlete.
Sure.
So I like to use my story, right? If I could use it as inspiration to help someone who might be, in their own mind, mediocre. Me, I was even less than that, I think. To then get to the top, you know, whatever that might be for them, I like to try to help. And I got a lot of experience. No bullshit here.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, I'm fucking drug tested, right? I'm older. I'm an older guy. You know, I was heavy as fuck. I was fat. So I know what it's like to not be in good shape. I had my shoulder replaced twice. You know, I mean, to come back from that, most guys ride that story itself to the death. And I have that on top of all my other shit.
Yeah.
You know,
for
so
sure.
at my training camp, I take guys and girls. We have a place in upstate New York where we could really.
And where in upstate is this?
Cold Spring, like an hour from New York.
Okay.
But we got a place 4 acres of land, pool, hot tub. We got recovery there. We do 3 workouts in a day. Teach people how to eat right, how to think the right way too. I like to have people come away for 2 days. So really, I want to see how do they think about things, right? How, like you said, I could have quit any point. So many points I could have quit. You know, but why is that the most readily available option to you?
Yeah,
and it is like what's going on in your head that makes you such a fucking quitter? You know, like what? Listen, if you don't want to do something, don't do it. Don't talk about it. Don't do it.
Yeah,
I don't talk about wanting to be a figure skater. It's not something I want to do. Right?
Okay.
So, okay. I appreciate. You know, it's just not something I want to do.
There's a lot of Facebook fighters out there. You know,
well, not just even fighting. Even like I as a coach, mostly in the fitness industry, people always say I want to do this. I want to get stronger. I want to lose weight. And they don't do it. And I'm like, just don't say anything. Shut the fuck up. Because if you say it, that's my field. I want to help. I believe in everyone first.
Right.
So if you tell me you want to do something, Bill, if you were like, yo, John, you know what? I want to get an amateur fight in. I don't know if you have any fights or whatever. Do you? Did you fight before?
A couple smokers, but it's not for me. I train to be an analyst. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Listen. So, but whatever it is that you wanted to do, even if you were like, I want to get my black belt, you know.
Yeah.
What do you think I need to work on? I'll be like, oh yeah, you want to get a black belt? Let's do it. I like that. I'm behind it. You know, if there's a way I can help, I'm into it. So
yeah, and you could help people with a roadmap to get there.
Yeah. Otherwise, don't say shit. I just don't like when people like if you don't want to do it, I don't want to hear it. So people's minds fuck them up a lot. Like, why are you even talking about it?
Yeah.
Why? Like, don't even occupy mind space with it. Work on stuff that you're actually gonna follow through with.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. That kind of stuff bothers me too, even if it's something small. If somebody is like, I really want a cheeseburger, like, well, go fucking eat it then. Like, why are you talking about it? Hey, don't keep talking about it if you're not gonna do it. And then they'll order a salad. Like, why are you talking about the cheeseburger? Just eat it.
Well, you know what's funny? Even like when I'm cutting, I had 2 of my students just came to watch me like the beginning of the cut to make sure I didn't die. Which the beginning is easy. So 2 of my students live in the neighborhood, and I was like, oh, just keep an eye on me. And they were like afraid to eat in front of me. And I was like, bro, I know what I have to do here. Nothing you do is going to throw me off what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, like, am I eating a burger now? Yeah, because I can.
Yeah.
But if I tell myself I have to make this weight class, I'm training for a fight, guess what? I'm not eating a fucking burger. You know, it's not part of the plan. There's nothing like, listen, as much as I'm a wild guy, there's nothing like when a plan comes together.
Yeah. Yeah, you could still be disciplined. And me, like, it's interesting.
It's not even discipline. It's not discipline because the things that you don't want to do, you never do. Like, no matter what's around.
Yeah.
So if you don't like shooting heroin, you don't see fucking junkies on the corner and say, oh, you know what? I think I want to do that. You're like, I don't think I want to do that, right? You're like,
yeah.
So if there's something that you want to do, you're going to do it. So if it's so I put it in my head, it's something I don't want to do. Like when I'm training for the fight, I don't want to eat a donut. I don't. Right. I do now because I'm smoking a bowl, and I told myself that's okay. This is the time to do that.
Yeah.
When it's the time that you don't want to do it, that's it. You don't want to. I just tell myself I don't want that donut. That's it.
Yeah.
Because what I want is to fucking have my hand raised at the garden. You know, and that triumphs over anything else I want. You know, so I don't want that donut. No, because I know what that donut represents.
I got you. So instead of being disciplined, you're saying you got to reprogram your mindset, basically.
Exactly, because discipline, I don't want to always have to make. Okay, I love Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if you like. I don't know if you like D&D.
No, but I'm sure my co-host would love to talk to you about it sometime.
But whatever. So in D&D, you have like something called a saving throw. You have to make a check.
Okay.
And one of them is a will check, a willpower check.
All right.
And if you fail this willpower check, well, you failed your willpower check. Now you have to do the thing. So let's say you see a beautiful sorceress and she tries to charm you. You fail your willpower check. You're doing whatever she tells you.
Yeah.
So discipline is trying to make the not fail. So that's like, oh, I see that donut. Use my discipline. I'm going to roll and see, am I going to fail this one? So
Okay.
I don't want to have to make the roll. I just don't do it. You know, it's like I don't want to eat the donut. I just don't do it. That's it. I don't want to be like, oh, I really want to, but I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to control myself and not eat it. It's like, no, I don't want to eat it. And now I'm eating the fucking donut. I don't need to control myself.
I see what you're saying, but you had me with the porn star analogy. You lost me a little bit with the Dungeons and Dragons, but I do get the
My bad. Listen,
I do get the point.
If someone knew Dungeons and Dragons, if someone was a D&D player, they would know. my wife understands. She plays Dungeons and Dragons. That's how we fell in love.
That's a beautiful
we got
story.
At the Renaissance Fair.
Did you really? In Tuxedo, New York?
We went to the one in Connecticut when we got married. It was so long ago they weren't doing them at the New York one.
Oh, okay. I've been to that one in
almost 11 years.
Congratulations. That's a big achievement these days.
It is a big achievement. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's well worth it.
I've been to the one in Tuxedo. That's a good time.
That's a good one. Yeah, it's a good time. Lots of alcohol. I dress up. I mean,
that ropes me in.
Yeah.
They used to do the pub crawl where they would give you a pin, and every time you went to a pub, they would tie a ribbon around it. And then I went one year and they stopped doing that, and I was like, I'm never coming back.
They were getting too fucked up.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, they can't hang.
Yeah, they couldn't. I'm telling you, they were getting really fucked up.
They couldn't reprogram their mindset to not be a drunk asshole. Is the problem.
Be a dick. Just be like, yeah, I'm gonna be a fun drunk now. Just tell yourself that.
So listen, Manimal, you have an awesome story, and I appreciate you sharing it with the audience. I'm probably, if you got time to still hang out and talk about the fights from this weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe I might split this into 2 episodes here. I think that would be cool.
However you want to work it, but yeah, I got another 20 minutes.
All right, let's get into it then.
Let's go to the fights from last night.
Fight Night on ESPN 3, headlined by Ngannou and Dos Santos. This was in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
The Target Center, right?
Yeah. Good luck if you're the guy who had to pick out who gets the fucking bonuses on this one, because this was a firecracker of a card. Let's start at the top. And, well, actually, let's not start at the top. Who was the most impressive performance to you last night?
Oh, shit, I got to see the fight card in front of me. Let's see. I mean, you know.
Well, when you think about last night, which fight jumps to your mind first?
I mean, the Ngannou fight was... Oh, you know who I like, actually? Benavidez.
Oh, okay, yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, he looked good. And that guy was much improved, too.
Yeah, he came back from some adversity, some awesome scrambles in that fight. He's so explosive. You know, for a guy with a guy like Formiga on your back to be able to just explode out of it the way he did, I don't think
Formiga was catching him with shots too.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how hard that is to do with a grappler like Joseph Formiga on your back, to just be able to explode out of it and turn into him.
Yeah, I think he caught my boy Sasaki Formiga.
Oh, did he?
Good. Yeah.
He's very good. Yeah, so that was a good one.
That fight stood out to me. I mean, I like Benavidez. I'm a fan of the 125-pound division. I don't think they should cut it.
Yeah, it's tough now because you got a champ who moved up in weight, and he's hurt, so he's gonna be on the bench for a while.
Listen, that was a tough fucking fight.
Yeah,
it's hard not to get hurt in that fight with Mariah.
Yeah. I mean,
Henry Cejudo, the only person I like better than Henry Cejudo at 135 is Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah.
That's it.
Who you train with, and who is definitely deserving of a title shot. But like I said, but even Aljo was on Twitter last night. I saw he said if he has to take a backseat to anybody for a title shot, Joseph Benavidez deserves it. I thought that was a stand-up move of Aljo. So he said if Cejudo went back to 125 to defend the belt against Benavidez, he'd be cool with that. So that made me like Aljo even more.
No, Aljo's a solid dude. Yo, let me tell you, I train. He teaches a cage wrestling class twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
All that cage wrestling I was doing, shout out to the Funk Master. I used it all in the cage. You know, I said just do the technique.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself a few things, you know, in the process, and I just tell myself do the technique. That's it. Just do the fucking technique. You know, and that helps. I tell myself Goldilocks, not too hard, not too soft, just right.
That's a good way to look at it.
I tell myself Goldilocks in the corner. Then I tell myself, I say Manimal, and I'm like, be relentless. When you have some, be relentless. I tell myself a few things in there, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-talk in there.
You know who could have used some of those cage wrestling classes is Anthony Rocco Martin last night. And this fight infuriated me because here you have Demian Maia in mount on Rocco Martin, and Vance Swerdon, the referee who should have his license revoked, stood up, not only stood him up, but grabbed him and pulled him off. He has no business standing this fight up. I mean, you've been in there, so you might have more of a say on it than I do. But what did you think when he pulled Maia off of Martin last night?
Listen, Maia's mounted, okay? And I know that the guy they were in a position that was looking stagnant, right? However, Demian Maia is an isometrically based jiu-jitsu practitioner. His style is slow, you know, but very effective. Now he has the mount. It might take him 40 seconds to turn that guy off the cage. You got to give him the time to do that. He's achieving positional advantages. It's like watching a python, you know, kill. Yeah. He takes some time to watch how it's moved. It doesn't look super exciting until the fucking thing is dead. Yeah. So Demian Maia doesn't look super exciting killing. He's like slow, methodical. It took him 90 seconds to pass to the mount, you know. Yeah. But his style, that's his style. Who the fuck is the ref to be like, get up? Don't listen to the crowd. That guy has a style. Right? Yeah. That he's working effectively. And what can't be influenced by the crowd. And what people don't realize, especially the people who are booing, is the whole time he's making his opponent miserable. It might just look like he's holding the guy down, but that pressure of a black belt, the level of Demian Maia on top of you, it hurts. It's uncomfortable. And that's why he's able to slowly creep up in that position, is because he makes his opponent uncomfortable. Rocco Martin was miserable up against the cage. He looked totally defeated. And this referee, you know, if Martin gets up and then knocks Maia out at the end of that round with whatever was left, the 15, 20 seconds, you know, he just robbed Demian Maia of a paycheck right there. He took money out of his pocket. Now, I'm of the opinion the refs shouldn't be standing up fights at all. They shouldn't be breaking up fights against the cage when guys are getting held there too long. I'm against the referees being involved at all. They're in there to keep the fighters safe. Period. Don't do shit besides that. Regulate fouls and stop the fight when necessary. Yeah. Yeah. Keep the fighters safe. You know, make sure nobody's doing anything illegal, and then get in there when a guy, you know, is getting his ass beat too much. And by the way, to change the position, I think changing positions is dumb. Because let's say two guys are on the feet, circling each other for like a minute, and no one really does nothing. Yeah. They don't make you go on the ground. That's a great point. Oh, you guys on the feet, you're not doing nothing. Now you get in his guard. Let's flip a coin. You get in his guard. Yeah. You don't do that, so why would you do it the other way? Oh, you're on the ground, not doing that much? Stand up. It's like, bro, you don't do that in stand-up. I've seen some boring stand-up fights. Yeah. Ngannou and the Black Beast. Oh, yeah, that was awful. That was one we'd hope to forget about. Ground. That was one that I would have been like, yo, start exchanging guards. It'd be kind of funny if they did it like wrestling, like the second round they flip a coin, you got to start in a guy's guard. Referee position.
So I want to stick with this ref and bury him a little more because he was also the ref in the Eryk Anders fight, who almost let Vinicius Moreira die. When
Eryk Anders, what weight was he in that fight?
205.
He looked massive.
Yeah,
he looked thick, and he was explosive. Yeah, you got to be on it. The referee has a tough job, first of all, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I thought he took every shot counts. I thought he took 2 or 3 unnecessary shots. And those were hard shots. I mean, Eryk Anders, you have to go till the ref stops you.
Yeah. That's what sucks about being a ref is people are only talking about you when you fuck something up. When you're doing a great job, nobody ever.
90% of the time, they probably do.
Yeah. I mean, you got guys like Jason Herzog and Keith Peterson, who I think are like the best of the best because you're never talking about them.
I love my ref in my fight. I forget his name, the one with the huge beard.
Is it Beltran? Mike Beltran?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's another one.
That guy's great.
His name only comes up when you mention his beard, but he's not fucking fights up
fair.
for people.
Yeah,
I was concerned for Moreira last night because he was taking some big shots and his head was in that corner between the canvas and the cage, which is like the worst place to take an impact because then it's forcing the back of your head into that corner and then your face is getting smashed. But one thing I want to say about this fight with Anders is his takedown defense. He used like a modified cradle to defend that single leg that Moreira was in on. And that's what set up that finishing striking sequence. And I really want to make a point to notice that because a lot of the highlight clips I've seen are only showing the ending sequence where he knocked him out. But if he doesn't defend that single leg the way he did, he never gets to that point. What did you think about Anders' wrestling?
True, he did look good. Almost a quarter Nelson at first, right?
Yeah.
I'd have to see the sequence again, how we reversed the position.
Yeah, but, and then he dove for the leg. Yeah, go back and watch that again because it's really awesome. At first, I was like, what the hell is he doing? And I see he goes for the cradle, which is dangerous because he's pulling the guy on top of him. But then he rolled through it, gets up, and then blasts him in the face and almost kills him thanks to Vance Swearden.
But I'm going to have to watch the technique on that one again. Yeah, I like to do that too. Now that I have time not training the body, then I can like watch more tape, analyze some techniques, work the mind more. You can't be body, even though to me they're the same. Like, but you can go so hard physically. But I think you can take a lot more time mentally and then incorporate it into the physical gains a lot easier. I love, listen, I'm older in the game, and whether I want to fight again or not, I always want to be able to train and be active.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at, what's his name? Tom Brady. That guy's old as shit for football. Yeah. And I was watching his training, and a lot of his time he spends watching tape. Yeah. He does a lot of work that's not physical. Like the physical, maybe he'll put in like 3 great hours. Nothing extra. It's like three good hours of training. Perfect hours. No waste. And then the rest, it's like eating smoothies and fucking watching tape. Yeah. And kissing his son on the lips. Yeah.
It's interesting how training has evolved like that because like I read Sylvester Stallone's autobiography and he talked about when he was training for like the Rambo movies and he would work out like all day and then he would get home and like go back to the gym and he's like, I was so stressed about having my back on that billboard where they had to remember the old advertisement for Rambo is like Rambo's back for Rambo 2 First Blood.
With
and
the gun in his side,
And he's like, I was so paranoid about it. I would go and work out again all night and just like eat a can of tuna fish out of the can and then just keep lifting weights. It's like, but now we know that you could get the same results. Yeah.
Steroids.
Yeah, you think?
In the 80s, it was really legal too. So.
Oh, yeah. But now we know you get the same results. Like now a lot of trainers are saying like only lift weights for 30 minutes at a time and don't do anything extra because you just, I mean, there's different schools of thought, but we know that you don't have to work out all night to get in shape.
You're probably wasting energy at that point.
Yeah. You're actually like damaging the cells.
Let's see, what other fights were there that were good last night?
Well, let's talk about the main event. We had Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos. This one played out exactly how I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be JDS outboxing Ngannou or getting caught with a big shot. I mean, he tried to trade the big shots with him, and he paid for it. He swung and missed with that big overhand right. He got spun around, and then 3 clean shots behind the ear, and that's 3 more than he needed, or 2 more than he needed. So what did you think about the main event, Manimal?
I'm disappointed. I would have liked to see a little more action in the fight. Junior Dos Santos, he was trying to Hail Mary it, and I don't know why. Bro, listen, if you're going to go out on your shield, take your time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, you want to go out on your shield fighting Ngannou because you think, I might not be able to take his shot. I'm going to try and knock him out.
Yeah.
You try to knock him out by setting it up with a jab. You know what I'm saying? Like, throw him your jab.
Yeah.
Actually, they exchanged a couple hard kicks. He hit him with one hard kick that dropped him. I would have tried to kick him in the leg a little more, slow that big dude down.
Yeah.
And try to be a little patient. Junior Dos Santos didn't fight like a veteran. He's a veteran. He didn't fight like it. So that's upsetting sometimes to me. It's like, you're a veteran. Be composed. And that's the guy you have to fight like a veteran against. You can't give that guy a chance. Ngannou. And Ngannou's looking more savvy now. So now you're really going to have to play a smart fight against that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ngannou comes out throwing those leg kicks, which, JDS, he didn't even check those. So those looked like really hard. And then, even if he boxed him from the outside and used his head movement to get inside and land a couple of shots, or push him up against the cage, get his arms filled up with blood. I mean, that guy's carrying a lot of muscle. There are a lot of different ways he could have done it, but he played his game and he paid for it big time. It was sad to see because he's a lot more skilled and much more smarter of a fighter than that. I mean, the guy's fought for 5 world titles.
Like, why go out and try to, like, what was his corner telling him? I know my corner tells me, do well what you do well.
Yeah.
They're like, do well what you do well. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that. Plan A.
Yeah.
Stick to plan A first. If your plan A was try to go toe-to-toe with the guy, that's not what I would call an intelligent strategy.
Yeah, that's a bad plan. But I think I think it was just ego.
Maybe, I mean,
because Ngannou hit him with the big leg kick, so he threw it back at him. Ngannou's coming with the big shots, so he's coming with the big shots back at him. He fell into his game instead of doing what he's good at.
And he overthrew that punch so much that turned him around, and he got hit from behind, awkward as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, good for Ngannou. I don't know what JDS does after this. But, and it's a shame, too, because it's 2 fights in a row with, like, kind of older champions that they fed to Ngannou.
Yeah.
Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, guys that maybe, aren't there. Cain Velasquez, man, that guy just has a lot of injuries. It's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a weird ending to that fight.
That time away sometimes is important. Even, like, someone was asking me about, what the hell... the old 35-pound champ. Why can't I? Cody Garbrandt. I was like, he needs to take a year off.
Yeah.
Full year off he needs to take.
Yep.
He'll be all right.
Without sparring.
No sparring. Yep.
Full year off. I agree.
Yep. Just let your brain heal. Come back strong. Be patient.
Mm-hmm.
No, why is no one fucking patient?
That's a good question.
Oh my God, dude, I am like the lesson in patience. Can you be a little patient? Okay, sometimes it takes a little fucking time.
Yeah.
It's not on your
true.
timeline. The universe has its own timeline.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Nature does things in its own time. You're not like, oh, I wish it would be summer for 18 months. It's like, no, summer lasts this long.
Yeah.
This lasts this long. There's a timeline for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish winter was only a week long in New York. Well, it's not. It's this long.
Well, I live in Florida and winter is a week long. So if you want a week long winter, you move to Florida. We have like 1 week where it gets down to 30s and then
you
it's
have
like
hurricane season, right?
Yeah, and then hurricane season, but
Hurricane season.
you deal with it. It's fine.
You deal with it, yeah. It's fine if you like the wind. Hey.
Yeah, I was born and raised in New York. I don't know if I told you this. I moved down here.
Train at Henzo's, yeah. So.
Yeah, I was born in Westchester, so
sick.
I do not miss the cold, man. The first year I moved down here, I had to go back to New York for a wedding in March, St. Patrick's Day wedding, and there was a blizzard when the plane landed, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm never coming back." I'll visit New York in the summer, where it's just as miserable in New York in the summer as it is in Florida. I say this all the time.
In the center of the universe, you get everything.
Yeah,
there's everything here. Every season, every temperature, every ethnicity.
Yeah,
every food. There's everything here.
Yeah,
everything you do is everything in New York.
That's true. The food, that's the only thing Vola and I were talking about this, the fucking pizza, man. You can't find pizza in Florida. It doesn't exist. There's stuff that looks like pizza, but it's not.
It's not pizza.
It's not.
Yeah. Bill, I got to go.
All right, brother.
All right. I got to get ready for my second podcast tonight.
Yeah.
So, guys, follow me at John the Manimal Beneduce. I got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. My next training camp's in September in New York, so I'm going to promote that. I'll wind up doing some more coaching and then figure out what's next in the other realms of existence. Bill, it's been a lot of fun being on the show. Whenever you want me on for part 2, this was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's do this again because I want
I like to talk.
Yeah, so I've heard. I listen to MMA and Beyond every week myself, so you guys should definitely check that out if you haven't already. Manimal, you got any sponsors or shout outs you want to give or just follow on Instagram?
Yeah, follow on Instagram. Manimal Training Camp is what most of my brand is through. I had some good sponsors for my fight at Health Defense, at CMG CBD, best CBD products. Elemental Wisdom, some good supplements, New Life Science. I had a couple supplement sponsors that came through well. And yeah, just thankful to have the support of my team, Laura MMA, Serra Jiu-Jitsu, Henzo Gracie Academy. Thank you to my cornermen, Ray Longo, Frivola, and Manny. And of course, I always have to thank my wife. She puts up with me through every season of the Manimal.
It takes a special kind of woman.
Woo! It's a special kind of animal, too. All right, Bill.
All right.
Great talking to you.
Manimal, thank you so much for joining, and I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Great. Thanks a lot.
All right. So that was John the Manimal Beneduce, and I'll continue breaking down these fights here real quick. So most of the fights last night, if you guys didn't see the card, Fight Night on ESPN 3, most of the fights were finishes. There were only, let's see, I want to say 3 decisions on this card, which is crazy. But one of them was Vince Pichel and Roosevelt Roberts. This was one of the best fights on the card. I mean, there were all these crazy finishes, but the grappling exchanges and these guys just going toe to toe, and they seem so evenly matched. Pichel a lot more experienced, and I think that's ultimately what got him the win. And really great fight. So if you guys missed this card, definitely go back and watch that one. I want to mention Alonzo Menifield had a crazy knockout over Paul Craig. But before that happened, something I don't think I've ever seen before, and it was really awkward. While Bruce Buffer was introducing these guys, Paul Craig walked right up to Alonzo Menifield, and they had some kind of altercation on social media or something, where they got in each other's face at the weigh-ins. I don't know what the case was, but Paul Craig was pissed off. So he walks across when he's being introduced by Bruce Buffer and gets in Alonzo's face, to the point where Bruce Buffer had to stick a hand in between them and push Paul Craig back. And Alonzo Menifield just played a great game plan. I mean, he got caught up in a clinch early on in the first round, and his corner was screaming for him to break away, and he wasn't really doing it. You know, like I've been saying this whole episode, ego is a motherfucker. So you get in there and you get your hands on a guy and you feel like, oh, I'm stronger than this guy. I could grapple him. But then Paul Craig goes to pull guard, and Alonzo was like, oh, shit, maybe I don't want to go to the ground with this guy, because he is very tricky. He is very tricky on the ground. So He keeps the distance and then puts him down with a pretty quick shot and puts Paul Craig on his butt, and then follows up with just some mean punches from up top and puts him out cold. It was a nasty knockout. So we covered all the fights that got performance of the night bonuses. Francis Ngannou, Joseph Benavidez, Alonzo, Menifield, and Eryk Anders, all well-deserving. I would hate to be the guy who had to decide who got bonuses here. So they did away with the fight of the night, and instead they gave out 4 performance bonuses, and that's how that went. Drew Dober with an impressive TKO victory over Marco Polo Reyes, who is a great striker in his own right. And Drew Dober is just looking, he's looking like a killer lately. He lost his last fight, submission to Beneil Dariush, but before that, 3-fight winning streak. And now this is going to give him a little bit of momentum here. Unfortunately for him, he's in, one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC. Let's see. What else was here? Jared Gordon and Dan Moret. This was a very back and forth fight. Decision could have gone either way. It went the way of Jared Gordon. Okay, Dalcha Lungiambula, the African fighter making his UFC debut. He came in with a lot of hype. Started off kind of slow. This guy looks fucking huge. He looks gigantic. On Sherdog, they have him as 5'10". Last night on the card, I think they had him at 5'8" at 205. And he got in there with Daquan Townsend. Both of these guys have crazy knockout power. So Lungiambula getting it done in the 3rd round with the TKO. Started off a little slow. He showed off, he's got some judo skills from what it seems like. I can't confirm this. I wasn't listening to the broadcast at the time. I had the volume off, but judging by the way he controls the upper body in the clinch exchanges, it seems like he's got a judo background. And this 205-pound division is getting exciting again, which is awesome. Next week we got John Jones defending his title against Thiago Santos, but we actually have like some competitors on the rise here, which is great because the division's just been bone dry for a long time. Amanda Ribas making her UFC debut in the strawweight division against Emily Whitmire, who's been around the block a couple of times. Very tight grappling from Amanda Ribas here. Her back control, she was basically on Whitmire's back for most of the first round. If you are a fan of women's MMA and grappling, definitely go back and check out this prelim fight. So she finishes in the 2nd round with a rear naked choke, just relentless with her grappling. And Whitmire did a good job of defending in that 1st round, but ultimately couldn't avoid the submission. And then we had Big Maurice Green knocking out Junior Albini in the 1st round, and that was the curtain jerker of the card. Awesome card overall. If you guys decide not to tune in for this one, then I don't know what to tell you. Go back and try and check it out. I don't know where you could see it. I don't think it's on the ESPN app because this was actually on ESPN on TV. It was actually hard for me to watch it at first because I tried to pull it up on the app. It didn't work. I tried to watch it on the laptop, but my cable provider wasn't showing it. So that was that, but great card, up and down, some awesome finishes. Not a ton of implications in terms of rankings, except for the main event and maybe the co-main event, depending on what happens with Henry Cejudo. But just solid fights all night. So hopefully I gave you guys some direction as to what to watch next. Well, let's talk about next week real quick. I know it's been a long episode. Maybe it'll be 2 episodes. Maybe I'll leave it as 1. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I don't make these decisions on the spot. I'm just talking it through with you guys. So next weekend, July 6th, we have UFC 239. John Jones defending his light heavyweight championship against Thiago Santos, who has just been on an absolute tear since moving up to 205. I mean, he was a monster at middleweight, but at 205, he's just way more scary. I don't know what to tell you guys. Outside of a puncher's chance, he shouldn't win this fight. John Jones is just so good everywhere. And, Thiago Santos is powerful and he's a great striker. Jones has been in there with guys who are more powerful and who are more technical strikers. So if John Jones is taking this fight lightly, which I doubt, and Santos is able to catch him, there's that possibility. But John Jones has such a high fight IQ and he has such a great camp around him that I don't see him going into this without the game plan to win the fight. And this card is stacked next weekend. This is actually a really amazing card. Amanda Nunes defending her bantamweight championship against Holly Holm. Of course, she holds titles in 2 divisions. It's an interesting fight. Holly Holm, I don't know why she's getting a title shot. I guess it's because she has the name recognition, but she's won 2 of her last 6 fights. And her last win was not even in a division that she's fighting for the title in. So I don't know. I mean, I know how the game goes. It's all business and marketing, and she's got a name, and we got to get somebody in there with Nunes that A, she hasn't beaten, and 2, A and 2, and B, has that name recognition. Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. This is an awesome fight. So of course Ben Askren's still undefeated. Don't forget that. And Masvidal coming off of that epic knockout win over Darren Till. So Ben Askren basically called out the winner of that last fight, but only if it was Darren Till. So Masvidal got pissed at him before that fight happened. Then he knocked out Darren Till. Now he's even more pissed at Ben Askren. He just thinks he's a punk. So he's pissed off. Ben Askren is, his same corny self, and he's been pretty quiet as far as promoting this fight. I don't know what that really says. I don't think he's afraid to say anything about Masvidal, but he's not totally been himself lately. Luke Rockhold making his light heavyweight debut against Jan Blachowicz. This is an awesome fight. 2 guys who are really great grapplers. Luke Rockhold, a very creative striker, drops that lead hand though, and Jan Blachowicz very tight with his striking. So Rockhold is the more creative striker. It might have more power than Blachowicz at light heavyweight, but he also takes more risks by dropping that lead hand. So we'll see how that one goes. Michael Chiesa and Diego Sanchez. Diego Sanchez, who has had just 35 career revivals, getting in there against Chiesa. Chiesa might be the more technical grappler here, but one, I don't think you're going to submit Diego Sanchez, and 2, Diego is just such a nightmare on the feet. I would tend to favor him in this fight, but Chiesa's pretty big and creative in this welterweight division, so there's that. Gilbert Melendez coming back. He hasn't fought in a while against Arnold Allen, who I believe only has a couple of fights. He's 14-1. He's got 5 fights in the UFC. So he's 5-0 in the UFC. Yeah, man, risky fight for old Gil here. Arnold Allen is and Gilbert Melendez on a 4-fight losing streak, unfortunately. That's sad to see because this is a guy who I consider to be a legend. But hopefully he's able to right the ship here against the 25-year-old Allen, who is very well rounded too. So of his wins, they're pretty well split between knockout, submissions, and decisions. So he can do it all, and he's out of TriStar. So he's getting good training. Let's see. The hits keep on coming. Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. I don't know if that fight is still happening because Sean O'Malley has some USADA issues. Claudia Gadelha, we're down in the prelims now, if you believe it. Claudia Gadelha and Randa Marcos. That's an awesome strawweight fight. Alejandro Perez and Yadong Song. That's a fun fight. Jack Marshman and Edmund Shabazian. You're going to want to tune in for all of these fights. That's a fucking banger right there. Jack Marshman, Edmund Shabazian. Make sure you guys catch that one if you don't catch any of the other fights. Nothing else really jumping out. Pani Kianzad, who is on the Ultimate Fighter, and Julia Avila is the first fight of the night. I don't plan on missing any of these fights. This is an awesome card. All right, guys, it's been a long morning for me, and we're into afternoon now, but so Scotch month is starting next week because this is the last episode in June. Thursday is the 4th of July, so I hope everybody has a fun and safe 4th of July, whatever you do to celebrate the birthday of these great United States of America. As always, it's a great opportunity to thank those who keep us safe and keep us free. So all the military, active, and veterans, and also the emergency services, firefighters, the police, EMTs, the nurses, the medics, the doctors, everybody doing their part to keep us free and safe here in these United States of America. I want to thank John the Manimal, Matt Beneduce, for joining me here today, breaking down some fights and sharing his story with us. He really does have an awesome story. And if you guys have never heard the MMA and Beyond podcast with Manimal, Steve Maraboli, and Ray Longo, it really is great. I listen to it every week myself. And they come out on Mondays, which is a great time to put out a podcast. That's why I put mine out on Sunday night. Or maybe they put theirs on Sunday night too, but I always catch it Monday morning because it's just there, downloaded in my Apple podcast. So thanks to Manimal, and thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for dealing with me last week being sick and tired, and I was sick and tired this week too, but I had Manimal's help reviving me a little bit. All right, so next week we're going to kick off Scotch month. July will be Scotch month, and we got some fun stuff to talk about. Until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.